Hi, welcome to City of Hope. My name is Jasmine and I am your host. Thank you for joining us today. If this is your first time seeing City of Hope is a show that looks to bring resources, educational opportunities, and hope to the city of Manchester and the state of New Hampshire. We hope to be a beacon of light and inspire anyone that we can. We're so excited to be here with you today, and I'm also very excited to introduce today's co-host, Mac.
Nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Mac. I'm in recovery. Very grateful to be here today to hear Jasmine and my man JMac speak on his story.
So fantastic. So today we have JMac here with us, and so I've known JMac off and on for a couple years now, but really I've got to know you over the last year, and I truthfully just kind of see you everywhere in the recovery scene, and so you're plugged into a lot of different resources. I see you primarily in like southern New Hampshire, but overall what I think I respect about you most is just who you are as a human and how I see you show up as your character. So thank you for coming on the show today, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what qualifies you to be here.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on here. Any opportunity to come on and share a message of hope or, recovery, active addiction, what getting help looks like, I'm always super grateful for that opportunity. I'm definitely a member of recovery and long-term recovery and have experience with relapse and having time before. And so I'm just very passionate about being able to share with others because that's how I was attracted to recovery, is someone else sharing their truth, blunt, raw, to the point, some stuff I didn't like to hear in the beginning. And that's kind of my style, but it's typical I didn't like to hear it because it was the truth. The truth always sets people free, in my experience. And I am grateful to be on here with both of you, and life works in weird ways, so it's pretty cool that we're on here talking.
Yeah. One of the things that I actually noticed about you years ago was just like how you articulate from a podium and how you just, you know what I mean? So I was gifted with the ability to articulate as well, and thank you God for that. But it immediately drew me to you because there is this bright light to you, and you connect with others through your ability to articulate. And I have watched you literally just light up rooms. Do you want to share a little bit on your gift for that?
Yeah, that's actually a very cool point. That's why I like always talking with you, Jazz. I can also say that I think it's a God-given talent, a God-given passion to create, and it was for a long time, and I guess we'll get into it after, but with my artwork, is that translated into recovery because I was always afraid to be who I was, especially growing up. I grew up in a very, alcohol and drug-addicted, lifestyle, seeing my parents and whatnot. And when I got into recovery, I was afraid to be honest. And once I started to understand the freedom you get from being honest and what it does to other people, there's a passion that created over time. And I used to be scared to get my hand up, even in treatment. And, sharing about being able to light up a room, what I've come to realize is you can't mess up the truth.
Yeah.
And it might be uncomfortable to get into the habit of getting truthful with others, but you got to start with yourself, and then you're able to do it in a room full of people. And for me, at this point, it's almost become easy. And I'm not saying that meaning like I don't have feelings of, nervousness or doubt. But once it's time to go and the cameras are on, or you're up at the podium, or it's time to speak to others, I just stand by that you can't mess up the truth. And you could even start off by saying you're nervous, and it takes the power away of being nervous. And, we were just discussing some stuff beforehand, about people reaching out, from different countries or whatever it is. And all that is because someone heard the truth. It doesn't matter what country they're in. That's why I like opportunities like this. And for one, it helps me. And then, yes, it helps someone else. Let's be real. Recovery, we got to take care of the addict that wakes up first, and that's us. And that's just my opinion on that. My experience, strength, and hope shows that. Take care of you, and then you are you are like a beacon of hope for all these other people by owning your own stuff. And that's why I can speak or connect with others by owning my own stuff. Because there's someone out there that's afraid to do that, and if they hear you doing it, you connect with them. So.
Yeah. What do you do to take care of you? As you were sharing that, I was like reflected on my own personal journey over, the last 10 years of what I've done to take care of me. And today looks very vastly different than it even did a year ago. You know, so what I do to take care of me is constantly changing and flowing. And sometimes I'm good at it, and truthfully, sometimes I'm really bad at it. And I'm the last person that I take care of sometimes, and then I suffer. And then when I suffer, all the people around me suffer. So
What do I mean, so I've been in and out of recovery for the last 20 years, and most of that I've been in.
That's
And I
awesome.
share that because it's the
awesome.
out that gravitates me towards other people that are suffering from addiction, because they need to hear that recovery is possible, but if you stop doing it,
That's right.
no one can bypass what can happen if you stop taking care of yourself. So I have things that are called like non-negotiables, like mostly every day. I'm not going to sit here and say every day, because I also have a career. I work in treatment, but I'm also a full-time professional artist that travels. So non-negotiables are, if it's a morning where I do not have to be out of the house super early and in another state painting, I'm at the gym.
Yeah.
My wife is, really into fitness. She's a bikini competitor, so she weighs her food, all that. So if it wasn't for her, I would definitely eat like garbage all the time. So I have like a healthy balance. Shout out to her,
I love that.
because I'd be liking some horrible food. But
Yeah.
it's what you eat, it's what you do, who you surround yourself with.
Yes.
But it's typically, like for instance, this morning, I have a trainer that I meet with just on Thursdays, and that guy makes me feel like I don't know how to work out. And I mean
Yeah.
that in like a funny sense, but it's the truth. Like, I pay to basically get tortured, because it's the mind says to quit all the time.
Oh, my God.
The body will keep going. So train with him. I knew I was, meeting with you guys, and then I'm actually driving to Rhode Island tonight to see a friend celebrate 19 years.
It's awesome.
Wow.
And I try to do that a lot. I mean, it's not often that someone celebrates that much time, but I try to travel out of state, and then I take some guys from the Nashua area
Yeah.
that I've helped that are in my network, and I show them what recovery looks like when you travel, even if it's going to take 2 hours. So it's a lot of non-negotiables. I don't hang out with people I know that use. I have a very small circle. It's the gym, it's my art, it's the passion to create. And the passion to create isn't just with paint, it's also with the message and speaking to people.
Yeah.
I run groups multiple times a
Yeah.
week. I deal with housing. I do this because I care. And I think you guys can relate, or anyone out there
Yeah.
that's listening, anyone that works in treatment or sober living, or mental health, or, even some COs I know in jail, they do that stuff mainly because they care. It's kind of a career path that you have to either have come from it or have like a huge heart. And so for me to stay doing that, though, to circle back to like taking care of self, to have access, for people, especially in treatment, to have access to you, you got to be taking care of you. It's just my strong opinion, because it's very draining, and let's be real, most people, they either relapse or come back, or
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
very
I
draining.
have, right? Because and so I have this problem where I take on, right? And then I don't take care of me. And my experience with that is when I stop taking care of me, I can suffer for a long period of time. You know what I mean? I really like to sit in the suffering, but eventually I do drink. And so something I have to be very, very mindful of, and especially currently in my life, I for some reason decided that I would have 3 jobs, so I have to be very mindful, like, how are you feeling inside today? What are you doing for you? How are you giving back to others? And I think that if there's, one thing that we can drill home to our viewers by this point is if you're not taking care of you, your ability to sustain your recovery is probably not going to happen,
Yeah, and I didn't, years ago when I had time before, I didn't work in treatment, but I did work in the fellowship. I sponsored people, I come from this 12-step background, but I stopped really taking care of the most important part, which is spiritual, if you ask me, because I started moving, I guess other than having a clean date, everything else I was doing at the time before I relapsed, my close friends would say, Jay, what are you doing? You know what I mean? This isn't going to end well, and you don't want to hear that.
Right.
Your ego kicks in. I had
When
the
I'm in that
time
point, I'm not even going to listen.
Yeah,
If-
and so
yeah.
the time I have now, which is 8.5 years, I've had before. And the thought of what happened back then sometimes scares me to this day, because I basically just, gave away kind of the hope that I had built up, to be honest, because it didn't get ugly right away, but once it did, it was very scary, and I almost didn't make it back. And I know you guys relate along with other people that are listening, because most people that are in recovery, most, not all, because some people I've seen come in and do it and stay clean, but most have an experience of relapsing.
Yeah.
And I'm real big on, I used to always view a relapse as like that moment you picked up the drug. A relapse technically is the deterioration of progress,
Right.
if you really think about it. No matter how long, it could be 60, 90, 6 years. People work on themselves, get better, you know, the pink cloud stage, so to speak. And then all of a sudden we stop backtracking. And I don't really ever want that to happen again, within reason. I mean, we're human, so we're gonna have some human error and just character defects and whatnot, but there's one thing I'm not gonna allow is I'm not going back to getting high because I might not make it back, and you hear a lot of people say that, and I built up a life worth living that I know you guys relate with, and to me that's a big part of my message. When you wake up every day, if you've built up a life that you're grateful for and you do things you like Mac had shit about music, that's why me hearing that, I'm gonna now be on them because when I care about people and they admit stuff like that, I just wanna see them pursue it because the more things we stack up that we enjoy, I don't wanna give that stuff away. You know, and it's been a long time since I've wanted to use or drink. I can honestly say that, where I've wanted to. Have I thought of it? Yes. I've talked with this a lot with people. Some people have cravings, some people just think about it. You know, my younger years were really wild, and a lot of my friends I was running around with are not here anymore. And when I'd get clean back then, I'd view it as I can't get high, I can't drink. And I had to switch that narrative in my head. When you build up a life worth living, I've noticed I talk to myself in a way where I don't want to do that stuff.
Don't want to.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's I can't, something will typically happen in life that makes me end up saying I don't care that I can't because I still want to.
Yeah.
Whereas if you stop the I don't want to part, if something happens, you still don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just something I've worked on for a while and can't pinpoint when exactly it happened. I've just noticed it's a little more freeing when you don't want to do something.
Oh yeah.
You know, so.
I do want to say too, back almost a year ago from this point was the first time that I met you, and literally, I just felt how passionate you were behind the words and I just knew you were a genuine, true person. Like within the first 10 minutes of meeting you, and you lit that fire under me. That because I've heard the spiel in and out of the halls and stuff. You know what I mean? I've heard the go around, but you were raw and true, and like you said before, is people don't want to hear the truth, right? But that's the case. In order for me to heal, I need to work through that stuff, and you showed me that genuine side, and I'm still grateful for that, man. I'll never forget those early on days, and just very grateful to be able to sit here with you and hear you speak on it now. It's a beautiful thing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It reminds me, you know, I always ask guys how old they are for a reason. I'm 45 now. When I first came into recovery, I was 23. And hearing Max share that reminds me of, you know, at 25 years old, I came back into treatment, and I had a little bit of experience before, but I really wanted to take it serious now. One of the things that helped me was there's a lot of guys, you know, I went through a halfway house system, you know, the PHP, IOP, I don't even remember hearing that level of treatment back then. And I had completed a halfway house and went to a 3/4 house, and I'll tell you what humbled me. Coming up as a street kid, and what I mean by that is me and my brother had complete freedom. No parental guidance, really, just running the street, right? By the time I made it to that 3/4 house, and there was a lot of older gentlemen, and some of them were on life parole, you know, some of them, they mess up one more time, they're going away for life. You know, and I'll never forget, just like Max said, when you come across people that are blunt and raw, you know that they mean it because they're typically telling you some stuff you don't want to hear, but my spirit said, I need to hear this. And I still use these words that these guys spoke to me about back then as inspirations of hope. You know, they'd look at me and say, kid, you got to smarten up. You're a talented barber. Then they'd see the artwork I would do, you know, and they'd say, you got to pursue this. And that's kind of what I've taken in how I speak to others. I don't really try to speak to other people to have them be other artists or be another me. I want people to be the best version of them, you know, so you just take that formula, and if it works for me, why wouldn't it work for them? That's kind of my approach. So seeing people pursue that, and it's always going to ruffle some feathers. I always say, and sometimes it rubs people wrong, I say, I do not work in treatment to be liked.
That's right.
I also don't mean that I walk into a room and hope no one likes me. That's not what I mean by that. But we're going to say some stuff. When you own your truth, it'll probably ruffle the ground of the people that are, you know, full of it. You know, but we need the realness. That's what saves our lives.
Yeah.
100%.
I think one of the most admirable things about you that I noticed right away is just your ability to stand up in a room, or even, you know, your social media presence, or just anything I've noticed about you wherever you go, your ability to authentically be yourself with confidence. You know, as someone who spent most of her life, you know, not knowing who she is and not liking who she is, and as I've been on this journey of recovery, starting, you know what I mean? Like, now when I walk into a room, like, I try to be confident. You know what I mean? And so I see a lot of that because I aspire to be that. So I think that you're a role model for many. I know at many points in time over the years, you know, when I've seen you or come across you or we've been doing things, that there are things about you that I really look up to. You know, you're a role model for me. So I appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that. It also took a lot of, it's the best way I can put this. It took a lot of going inward because my upbringing, I can honestly sum it up with one word, and it's fair. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't admit that. You know, I was a new kid a lot. I've been into what I'm into like since I was little, and I used to get judged for that. Like, I really liked breakdancing and I liked skateboarding, and with the skateboarding came the tagging. And I liked music. Like, we were talking about music before. I loved hip hop, right? I'd get judged. I'd move around a lot. So I would think there was always something wrong with me. And I guess there was to a certain extent. But recovery gave me the gift that once you go towards what's hard, you know, which is going inward, and whatever that looks like for people, you know, it doesn't always have to be step work, but an inward journey. Once I went in, I realized there was actually a lot more wrong with the people that were treating me the way they were than it was with
Yeah.
me.
Mm.
And my artwork ended up ultimately saving my life. So, you know, I've worked on being a confident man. I used to be an insecure boy. So to become a confident man takes looking at the insecure boy. You know, the dude that didn't have the father.
Yeah.
The kid that moved around a lot, picked on. I remember getting jumped. All this stuff. And I know people relate with this. And you have to realize it actually made me stronger. It made me stronger. You know,
Yeah.
it taught me how to defend myself. Physically or verbally, you know, and when you are confident, it'll help people that are insecure realize they can be confident too.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
agree.
learn to own the room. Like, when you walk
Yeah.
into a room, let's not look at it like, oh, who likes me?
Yeah.
Look at it like, whoever doesn't like you, they're just not your people. And even if it's one person out of the room when you leave that gravitated towards what you said, that one is so much stronger than the 10 that don't like you. Let's be real. The other 10 that don't like you sometimes don't like them.
Right. It's
They ain't
yeah,
gonna like
mirror
you then.
images. Yeah. Right.
And that's just life, you know,
Yeah.
and in
Yeah,
recovery,
yeah.
that's how bonds end up getting created that are stronger, because if you have strong morals, values, speak with conviction, have passion, you're most likely going to click with other people that have that.
Yeah.
That's just my experience. And, you know, recovery is a great gift because we get to work on ourselves daily, and when you realize it's a you versus you, like, I've never gotten out of this 6-inch square space in active addiction or using or in recovery, meaning I'm always, so I had to learn to do things where you like the narrative that goes on in there. And when you
Yeah.
click with other people that are on that path too, those conversations are very powerful, very passionate, right? And very loving. Because I don't have time for all the other stuff.
Yeah, I have to be very mindful of my inner narrative, you know, because I will constantly create a reality where I'm like comparing myself, or like the story that I'm telling myself is like there's some kind of victim, like I don't like them, here's why, and I'm making my entire experience like miserable, when the truth is everything is unfolding exactly how it's supposed to. I'm not in control of any of it, and my only job here is to like guide and love, you know, but I do it to myself all the time.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say? Comparison's the thief of joy?
Yeah.
I relate.
Yeah.
Whether it's a new car,
Yep.
finally bought a house, you have the family, business, doing art. There's definitely a narrative that still creeps in. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't there. I guess the difference with confidence and building it, right, and passion and just working on yourself is that voice isn't as loud as the positive one.
Oh yeah.
But it takes work.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's like, which one are you feeding?
Yeah.
It's like the story with the grandfather and the kid, and he's, you know, asked the grandfather which one you feed, the wolves, right, the good or the bad one. Recovery looks like that too. There's always a negative narrative, and I kind of tell it to shut up, but I don't sit there and talk to myself. I do it with forward positive action. I've been saying that for years. Like, negative thinking has never fully gone away in my life. I know a lot of people relate because I have conversations about this a
Yeah.
lot. And then I say, what is your experience? I said, I don't sit here and just tell myself to think positive. It has to be like I just said this morning. I went and trained. That was
Yeah.
hard. The voice says, it's really rainy out today. You're going to really drive 2 hours? Yeah, well, how often do you see a friend celebrate 19 years? You know what's happened every time I make that drive to go see him celebrate?
It's beautiful.
It's a very,
Yeah.
very inspiring drive
Yeah.
home. The music sounds different.
Yeah.
If you're with someone, the conversation sounds different.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, it's the only thing I've ever seen that truly stops negative thinking or even behavior is forward positive action. Doing stuff that's tough.
Yeah.
Speaking about
Absolutely.
stuff that's tough, we're not always going to have this like perfect story. I actually click more with people that have the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hard upbringing or the struggle, the a million times to get a year,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And I'm grateful. It says stay grateful on my hands. I got that for a
I
reason.
saw stay, and I was like, I didn't see the grateful. And when I saw stay, my mind immediately went to when you go to self-help groups and they say stay.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, oh, I wonder if that's what that means, like stay.
Yeah, probably the most emotional tattoo to look down at after you relapse, though.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you idiot, you didn't stay. And it just, because it means something, it means
Yeah.
something. And just, if you stay grateful, you hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Right? The word gratitude, or grateful, be grateful. And I used to say it because it was like breathing. You just said it when you were named.
Right.
You name and introduce yourself at a meeting. And then when I came back, November of 2016, after a friend had passed away, which was super gut-wrenching, I looked back down at that and was like, I gotta stay grateful. And it's an action word.
Yeah, sure is.
Love's an action word,
Sure is.
right? Being grateful, that's an action statement. And there's always someone out there. This is where I guess comparison can be positive. There's someone out there that wants a day, and all three of us got time.
Yeah.
And that person that wants a day, right? There's someone that's in jail, and they don't have the freedom because they're locked up, right?
Yeah.
And there's someone that's, going to pass away of cancer in a hospital right now.
Mm.
And then they get real deep. There's someone that's done some stuff here. Maybe they're living in hell. They'd be grateful to be the person in the hospital, at least with a chance. So there's always someone doing worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess that's the comparison, because when we look at who's doing better, that takes away from what we actually have.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my health. Health is wealth. I strongly believe that. I know people that have lots of money, and that seems to be what makes the world go around these days. And if I focus on what I don't have, I'll be envious of someone that has lots of money.
Yeah.
But you can be rich with not as much money as they have.
And you have one life, and that's something I constantly have to work at and remember. I received a cancer diagnosis 2 years ago, and I went through a lot. And that diagnosis actually was the one thing that really set me free. I was carrying a lot of guilt and shame from a relapse that I had. I didn't know how to talk to people. I was staying out of the public, and I was like, it was a rare and aggressive kind of cancer that I had. And I was like, you might actually die here, and so I let go of absolutely everything, and I started focusing on, I have one life, what do I want to do to be happy? I started traveling the country. I started having all these different life experiences, realizing that my time here might be very limited. And hearing you speak, talking, by the way, I made a full recovery. I had a pretty extensive surgery. I appear to be cancer-free. God is good. And I got set free, through like all my guilt, shame, and remorse that I was carrying inside. But hearing you share, talking about, like pursuing your passions, I was like, damn, I've really gotten away from that, like the last couple months. And, and then you're talking about all this other stuff. And so it's a great reminder for me that, like, I really need to do what makes me happy, because my passions and my desires really, truly come from God, And when I do that, maybe I don't drive the Lamborghini, but I actually live a pretty good life. And by me following my heart and doing my passions, I have got to create a lot of beautiful things. So it was really good to hear that. I think I need to leave here and make a list of the things that I want to go do to be happy, and do some of those, because I haven't been doing that lately.
I'm gonna need to start writing some music too.
Yeah. I'm just big on like when you view humans getting high, we are paying for happiness that is, you didn't earn it.
Yeah.
Right? And that can be for whatever reason. People are insecure, upbringing, dabbled with certain things. Now we're addicted and can't, stop doing it. But the point is once I'm in recovery and stripped of all that, the beginning stages of recovery look like, I got to build up a life worth living. I say it a lot, but I also try to explain what the structure of that looks like. And in the beginning, it looked like I need to do some stuff I enjoy. And I got to be honest, I know Mac will probably relate with this. Doing my art, newly in recovery, was very foreign, very awkward, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't, because I
Really?
felt the biggest lie I think I've ever told myself, other than just one more, is that I'm more creative on drugs. And a lot of artists and musicians and anything of talent, I've heard share this. Oh, I'm better under the influence. And I'm here to tell you, at least my experience proves that's a lie. It was awkward. Some people don't even know how to talk to
Yeah.
other people
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they're newly into recovery, right?
Yeah.
Is that I had to keep doing it, and then all of a sudden the passion and basically the discipline is what I'm getting at, is I would do stuff even though I didn't want to do it. I don't go to the gym only on the days I want to. If that was the case,
Yeah.
it'd only be a few times. I don't only paint now when I'm in the mood. Now it's a career, so people call me all the time for different projects, right? But it's about pursuing. That's why you just honestly ask yourself, do you enjoy this? Is it good for your life? And does it make you feel whole? Because if the answer is yes, there better be a list soon and checking it off. Because what's really gratifying, still to this day, is when I'm checking off the list of things that I'm supposed to be doing, along with the things that I like to do. Because we got to do a lot of stuff we don't want to do. You know what I mean? There's a mortgage now, with a kid, a couple cars, right? Utilities. But I remember staying on a friend's couch, wanting my own apartment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of back to the comparison part, like where we come and we get there, and then I'll notice myself be ungrateful. And the thing that keeps me grateful is I'm doing everything in my life today, including when I leave here and what the rest of my day looks like, I once prayed for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are we to then ruin what we've prayed for? You're living in a blessing you asked for, right? So that's why I continue to do stuff that's tough, but stuff that I enjoy. And then it brings a narrative that I enjoy, because at the end of the day, you end up being, oh, I've accomplished some things. I don't know how you talk to yourself, but if I go through a day without doing what I'm supposed to,
Oh yeah.
I don't forget that.
I mean, I feel much better when I get it all
Yeah.
done. Yes.
Well, then I always joke, and like, that's when you can like earn a nap. Get
Yeah.
something floating by me. I probably look like a weirdo on camera.
I see it. You're not going crazy. I saw it too.
Dude just
yeah.
walked into a spider web. You know, but when we do what we're supposed
It's
to do,
over here now.
you feel accomplished, and when it's the opposite, I feel empty, dude.
Yeah.
Even with all the great stuff going on.
That's something I try to preach to a lot of people, especially the newcomers in recovery, right? Is like, everybody says, oh, set yourself some goals. And it's like, listen, we're not talking about getting your first payment for an apartment, right? Like, for me, it was like brushing my teeth twice a day, right? Let me start there, something small, right? And then even making my bed every morning, you know, building those routines, stuff like that. Like, once you feel accomplished, when you bang out like 10 of those little victories a day, that's what's going to keep you going, right? That's going to build that confidence up. So
It builds momentum. You just touched on what I speak on almost daily. I ask people a goal that kind of intimidates them. And sometimes you see people's face, they're really thinking. And sometimes they give me a goal where I'm just like, I'm trying to get them to go deeper, right? Something that intimidates you. Someone really has been passionate in their whole life. I've always wanted to have this as a business, or this, or whatever the answer is. And I'm like, all right, that's, for some answers, they're really not even as far away as they think they are, and that's just the truth. But then what Mac just said, making the bed. Recovery, to me, what I've seen that brings on great success with recovery is building momentum. So little victories.
Yeah.
If you think you're gonna have a hard time accomplishing the one that's scaring you, if you can't check off some ones that are for today, it's probably going to be impossible to get there. So I ask people real quick, what's something that you could accomplish today? And anyone out there that's listening, or us three, whatever, you can think of one that we can accomplish by the time we're done recording, or whatever the rest of our day looks like. You've now checked something off that you set as a goal. Then make it bigger. Then do it repetitiously. Right? Repetition's the mother of all skill. For me to get to where I'm at today painting, I was horrible as a kid. I just liked graffiti. It was literally my first, basically, drug of choice, if you want to view it as that, because it was an adrenaline rush, right? And I then worked on it so much to the point where I started being able to paint stuff that I said I wish I could do it, right? So long as there's repetition towards things, then you can head towards greater accomplishments. You can apply that with work, career, recovery, relationships, in the gym, PRs, you know, just trying to lift more weight, eat better. Repetition brings all results. So.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for coming. We're out of time. They're actually yelling at us on the screen. It goes by quickly. It was awesome. What a powerful show. I'd love to have you back because I feel like we were just getting into it.
Yeah.
We just started to get into it. Real quickly for the viewers, for anyone that wants to get a hold of you, or you said something that really touched them, or they have any questions, is there any way they could get a hold of you? Social media or something maybe?
Well, typically my Instagram.
Okay.
So that would be at the, which is THE_BACKSTAH. It's the Baxter. And on Facebook is JMac, JAYMAC.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in today. It was great. Mac, thank you for coming in. It was awesome having you here too. And we will see you all next time. Thank you.